Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Building. Building. Repairing.
Awaiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir.
Construction
Acknowledged.
complete.
Acknowledged.
Base is
Affirmative.
under attack.
Acknowledged. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Repairing.
Affirmative.
Unit repaired. Repairing.
Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged.
Unit repaired. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Acknowledged.
repaired.
Yes, sir.
Unit ready. Building.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Insufficient
Affirmative.
funds.
Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Repairing.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit repaired.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready. Building.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Awaiting order. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Repairing.
Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building. Our base is under attack. Insufficient funds.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready. Building.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building. Repairing.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Construction
Acknowledged.
complete. Unit ready. Building. Repairing.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Vehicle reporting.
Building. Unit repaired.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building. Training. Unit
Yes,
ready.
sir. Affirmative.
Training. Unit ready. Building. Insufficient funds.
Yes,
Unit
sir.
lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Reporting.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Yes,
Unit
sir.
ready. Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Vehicle report acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Awaiting orders.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready. Building.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Commander,
Building.
on my way.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Our base is under attack. Unit ready. Building. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Acknowledged. Awaiting orders.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit prepared.
Awaiting
Yes, sir.
orders. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Reporting.
Insufficient funds. Unit repaired. Repairing.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Unit repaired.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Repairing.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost. Unit repaired. Repairing.
Reporting.
Commander, for king and country, indeed.
Unit repaired. Repairing. Building.
Commander, indeed.
Insufficient
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
funds.
Affirmative.
Repairing.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit repaired. Unit lost.
Vehicle reporting.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative.
Repairing. Unit
Yes, sir.
lost.
On my way.
Unit
Reporting.
repaired.
Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building. Training.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Training.
Reporting.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit
Yes, sir.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Training.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Insufficient
Affirmative.
funds.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Reporting. sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Preparing. Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Training.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Waiting orders.
Lost.
Acknowledge.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledge.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Acknowledge. Affirmative.
Prepare.
Acknowledge. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building. Training.
Affirmative. Acknowledge.
Insufficient
Reporting.
funds.
Acknowledge.
Unit
Affirmative. Acknowledge.
Unit lost.
Acknowledge. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledge.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit prepared.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Yes, sir. Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds. On hold. Cancel. Building.
Yes, sir.
Awaiting orders.
Commander, indeed. On my way. On my way. For king and country. On my way. Indeed. Indeed. Commander, for king and country. For king and country. On my way. On my way.
Building infiltrated.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting.
Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready. Building.
Affirmative.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Reporting.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Awaiting order. Acknowledged. Reporting. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Ready and waiting. Reporting at once. Yes, sir? Very well.
Acknowledged. Agreed. Yes, sir. Agreed.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Repairing. Training.
Yes, sir?
Insufficient funds.
Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Repairing.
Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Training. Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Waiting order. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Repair.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit prepared.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Repair.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Training.
Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building. Insufficient
Yes, sir.
funds.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Reporting.
Waiting orders. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged.